been sort of following what you've been doing since the Edmund Fitzgerald, and there is a Canadian connection to the name Edmund
Yeah,
Fitzgerald.
of course.
Where did that come from with that first band?
The name?
Yeah.
I was at my grandmother's house in Greece, and she had a subscription to National Geographic since the '60s, I think. So she has hundreds of them. They like fill up the bookshelves, and I used to spend my summers like reading through them. And there was one of the issues had this story about the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and there was just these descriptions of the fact that it was fresh water and how it was like this kind of ghostly galleon at the bottom of the sea, and there was no SOS calls, or there was just something kind of mysterious and like eerie about it. And I don't know, I was like 15, I think, then, so I can't quite remember, but I remember just being attracted to the story.
A big part of Canadian music history with Gordon Lightfoot and his record.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't actually aware of that at the time. I was only aware of that once the band had kind of formed, and I tried to like Google, the Edmund Fitzgerald to see if there was like any interest or whatever, and all that came up was just hundreds of pages of Gordon Lightfoot quotes and things. So, but yeah.
Well, with the way Foals structures their music, you could actually do a very good cover of that.
Of the song.
Of the song, without any sort of irony or parody involved. I think it would work out really well. You could make it a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But I think it would work great.
Yeah.
Consider it.
I will.
Let's talk about the I guess the history of the band. From Edmund Fitzgerald forward, you have your cult following in North America. We want to see if we can make that a little bit bigger. So just take me through the process there forward from Foals and the detours to where we are now.
From the start of Foals, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, so Edmund Fitzgerald split up, and we kind of wanted to do something. We felt a bit like it got a bit stagnant what we were doing, and it was part of a wider kind of movement in Oxford. Like there'd been a lot of post rock and stuff, a lot of music inspired by Canadian bands like Godspeed You Black Emperor and stuff like that, and we kind of had found that it'd become a bit self-serving in many ways. So with Foals, we just wanted to make our idea of like a pop band, really, and we wanted to play parties, and we wanted to write music for girls getting ready to go out on their first date, and for boys with braces who had been rejected. And we wanted to make music for everybody. We didn't want to make music for other musicians anymore. I wanted to kind of make music that I'd listen to when I was like chopping the lawn or something, or when you're like starting your car or commuting, like music for all walks of life that would be, it was poppy, there was attracts us about it, the kind of universal aspect of it. And then we put out some early 7-inches, and we played house parties. We didn't really play many gigs, and we'd do that sort of without a PA, and we'd just do whatever. And we were at university at the time still, and then we did that, and we dropped out of university, and we got a record deal, and we put out our first record, Antidotes, and then now we put out our second record, Till Life Forever.
Well, Antidotes is quite a bit different from this current record. Did you get bored with the sound that you had, or had you taken that sound as far as you could possibly take it, and you wanted to try something new, or what's the story behind the jump between the two records?
Well, I mean, to us it's not that drastic a jump. We just altered the way we thought rather than the way we played. I feel like we still play very much. We're still very much the same band in terms of playing, but the thought process was slightly different.
Well, what is the thought process?
Well, at the beginning of Foals, it was like quite a defined. I mean, I think like with a lot of new bands, you want to form an identity. You want to carve out your own space. You want to have your own signature. And so we had a very methodical way of doing that at the beginning. We almost had like a set of rules in a way, and we were kind of loved with the idea of bands like Devo that had this very defined aesthetic, and they had a kind of there was a discipline to it, and there was obviously a conscious kind of patterning to it. So every song we'd write would be like we'd reinforce that identity. Each song would adhere to our idea of what Foals should sound like. So we'd have, we'd play above the 12th fret. We were trying to make like, we were inspired by techno a lot in the beginning in a way. We didn't really feel like we were a band writing songs. We felt like we were making dance music. We were translating minimal techno into guitars, and just, and then when it came to make this record, those kind of rules and the parameters and the structures, the fun and the exploration was in destroying them and like moving them out. and pushing them away. And we did that quite naturally just by touring. We started to use more pedals, for example.
Well, the sounds are bigger and they're more.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to use the word, but I'm going to use it. Cinematic.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, but I don't think that's it. I actually started listening to a lot of Ennio Morricone and stuff that felt more 3D. I think there was something intentionally quite 2D about Antidotes. Like, we wanted to have this thing, and we filled every possible space with notes, with like this kind of precise staccato way of playing. And then, I mean, we don't want to be like the last guy left at the party cracking the same joke he's already cracked 7 times before. It's like, so we have to move. We had, you know, it's like evolution or extinction. We're not interested in repeating ourselves. We wanted to be a progressive band from the beginning, and the only way to do that was to dismantle the rules that were there at the beginning.
Okay, so this album's been out for a while. What are you going to dismantle about it?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. It needs to not be planned. I think we've got to see what we're going to do. I think that it might be like a pendulum might swing back to the middle, maybe, some way. Definitely don't think like we've arrived at where we want to be. It's not like we feel like with Top Life Forever that we're any like, you know, that we have arrived.
Let's talk about the Mercury Prize for a second. Now, you guys lost out to the XX, which they were sort of favored going in on the whole way.
Yeah.
But you guys,
So, I think.
it's a very good album.
Yeah.
But you know, people were giving you a chance with the record. And I can certainly understand why. Were you crushed by it, or were you?
No, I was elated to be nominated in the first place. Really, the nomination in itself, like, is kind of a big enough deal. I don't think anyone who gets nominated is particularly disappointed by them not winning it. It's like the nomination itself is good, and I think the thing above, I love that record, but I think the thing that really sets it apart from all the other records that were nominated is the way that, particularly in Britain, I know it's like popular over here as well, but it's kind of, it's permeated everywhere. It's like, it's everywhere, and that's an intrinsic merit in the record that it's managed to do that. It communicates to all sorts of people.
Well, it's an interesting record too, and then it's so sparse.
Yeah.
And there's so many spaces between the notes.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that anymore. I mean, they obviously listen to Pornography by The Cure a lot.
Yeah.
Well, good for them. Another thing about something like the Mercury Prize, that's one of those events that will get your name out there a little bit more. People will start talking about you because they see your name in The Guardian and wherever else with your name, you know, as part of that final 10. But there are other ways that you guys have managed to get your name out there in unconventional, non-record company ways. The first time I heard Spanish Sahara was in conjunction with the TV show Entourage.
Right.
You were in the trailer there. Have you noticed that those sorts of things are important to you?
I mean, to me, they're not that important. I can see why they work. I mean, the conventional or the kind of tried and tested outlets for music now are becoming, they're shrinking and they're diminishing. So you have to find new ways, or other people who work the record have to find new ways of getting your music out there. I mean, I try and intentionally, there are things that I'm interested in aside from making the music, like certain aspects. I'm very interested in the artwork and the videos and that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like syncing with TV shows and stuff, I kind of, well, no, it's not that it's not my thing. I think it's great, but it's definitely great that we get to have that opportunity because it does get different people listening to us. But really, I don't really deal with that kind of stuff because I think it can start to corrupt the way that you think, probably.
Let's talk about album covers. What is that on? I mean, with
On Total Life?
on Total Life, it's cool because you see fewer and fewer bands actually spending time and money on a concept for the look of a CD or the look of a piece of vinyl.
Yeah.
And you see that Foals record sitting on the shelf, and your eye is immediately drawn to it. Is there a story behind that cover? Or?
It's kind of like we've always been quite invested in all of the artwork and stuff, and pretty much everything's been done by 2 people. One guy's called Tinhead, and we grew up with him, and he does all the artwork, the illustration. And the other guy we do all the videos with is called Dave Marr. But with Total Life, it kind of came out by proxy. We went to do a photo shoot with this guy called Steve Gullick, who's a great photographer in Britain, and he shot bands like Pixies and Nirvana and stuff. And but we wanted to do this underwater photo, and we didn't really think it would be the album cover at all. It wasn't intended for that. But when the shots came back and stuff, we looked through that, and it just, I don't know, there was just something about the blueness.
I was going to say, the
Yeah.
blue tint is the thing that it's a color of blue that you don't see that very
Yeah.
often, and that's, I guess, sitting on a drab rack in a record store, it just pops right out at you.
I'm glad to hear that, because we definitely intended it to be like that. It seemed to fit as well, because we'd got, like, I really got into this kind of blue, which isn't the same blue, but it's Yves Klein, it's International Klein blue, and we kind of felt that the record was blue in many ways, and it has oceanic like imagery and stuff, so it just seemed to fit. And also taking that photo was such a laborious process as well. We felt like it took a long time to get.
How did you take it?
It's in a 30-foot diving pool. You use feet out here? Yeah.
Well, no, we're metric.
Okay, I don't know, but anyway, it's 30 foot, it's deep,
Okay.
and there was like a window on the outside of this pool, and I think they use it for like weird diving instructor type things. But Steve Goke was sort of on the outside, and we had a big lighting rig on top, and then he just kept making us dive down, and we had like markers at the bottom of the pool, but it was really deep. We were in it for about 4 hours. And it took like a week to get the chlorine out of our eyes and our head. Yeah.
And 30 feet, that's a long way
Yeah,
down.
it was deep. It was deep. We weren't going we weren't going anywhere near towards the bottom, but it was just kind of like we felt like there was enough pain involved that it deserved to be the album cover.
Right, with
like,
your ears and your nose and everything
Yeah,
else that
gone.
goes along with it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get. One final question. There's an etymology, I guess, that goes with the name Foals that somehow ties into your name.
Yeah,
Can
it's
you-
kind of coincidental. It wasn't I didn't actually. This other guy who's not with us came up with the band name, but Foals is obviously little horses. It's baby horses, and Philippakis in Greek. Well, Phil is friend or lover, and Ipos is horse, and Akis is like the little bit. So it's like little friend of
Okay.
horses. So it's similar, but I wasn't really that aware of it at the time. This guy, this friend of ours actually decided that the band should be called Foals. So it wasn't like a reference to myself or anything.
It was just a happy
Yeah.
coincidence.
Yeah.
Where are you going from here?
We go to Montreal tomorrow, and then we go, and we're in the States for another. We go back to Boston, and then Mexico. We're here for like 5.5 weeks.
In Mexico?
No, just in North America
Okay.
for another 5 weeks, and then we go and tour back in Europe again until Christmas. So, and hopefully we'll come out next year again, over to Canada. It'd be sweet.
So you're spending an awful lot of time on a tour bus.
Yeah, we're actually doing this bit on a splitter van. We're like, this is proper back to basics tour. I think it's good. It's like stops us getting soft, and stops the pampering, the rot of the pampering. So it's good for us. And I think that it's the best way to see America, just in a split and doing the long drives and like stopping at the truck stops, and it's good. We listen to a lot of records in the van. And
Okay,
stuff,
that leads right into my question. What are you listening to?
What are we listening to? I'm listening to Tame Impala's album a little bit at the moment. This awesome Australian kind of psychedelic band. We're listening to Take My Breath Away by Berlin, probably our favourite pop song from the 80s. Caribou record,
Yeah.
Swim. We're massively into that.
Well, they were Caribou. He's actually a guy. His name's Dan
Yeah.
Slade. He's from around here,
Yeah.
and he was nominated for our equivalent of the Mercury
Yeah,
Prize,
which is called the what's it called?
Polaris Prize.
Polaris
Music Prize.
Yeah.
And he's actually been nominated twice in 5 years.
Yeah.
That is a really good record. He's
Swim, I think Swim's an amazing record. Yeah.
he's got a PhD in mathematics, and
Really?
he's studying in the UK quite a bit.
Yeah, I know he's friends with. I know, yeah. I've heard that he spends a lot of time in the UK and stuff. So.
Yeah. Okay, so Berlin, Caribou.
Tame Impala, Kurt Weill. We're massive Kurt Weill fans. We've been listening to God is Saying This to You is our favourite record of his. And then we're just making playlists and stuff. We quite like the new Big Boy record, Janelle Monáe as well, and then just some dance music and stuff.
See, that's a hell of a variety. And if any of that seeps in for the next record,
Yeah.
it's going to be rather interesting.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know how much of it actually ever filters through. We've always listened to because there's 5 of us as well, so we all have quite different tastes. I don't know how much of it ever really kind of filters through. Sometimes I feel like it's just, I don't know if it does or not, but yeah, I hope so. It'd be good.
Remember, record of the Edmund Fitzgerald,
Cool,
next
right.
record.
Okay.
At least a
We'll give it-
B-side.
We'll give it a go.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Good luck
Thanks
with
for
everything.
having
It's a fine record, and enjoy it quite a bit.
Pleasure. Thank
All
you.
right. We're done, Dave.
Explore Music wears English Laundry apparel.